Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
Forever and ever.
Still got it.
We haven't forgot the intro.
Yeah. It's like muscle memory at this point.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good, baby.
How do you feel about recording an episode today?
It's surreal. It's even more surreal where we're recording.
Yeah.
We're on our deck.
So if I scream because a bee is near me, my bad.
Yeah. If you're listening on audio platforms, go check it out on YouTube for a second. I think we made it work.
So what's been going on with us?
I said in my Instagram story yesterday, we just been getting jumped by 3 humans that we call our children.
I think that's an understatement, but okay.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
They've been jumping on us. It's been just a parenting experience that's been, it's had its ups, its downs, but more so ups.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exhausting many days, but it's also exciting, like watching them grow and thinking of the future, thinking about where we were and where we are now.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd change anything. It's just different.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll think back to like, damn, remember life with just one child?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's hindsight is 2020, or maybe that's not the right saying, but things, I feel more fulfilled now. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
What's up with you?
A lot is up with me. I guess, people who are fans of the show know that I have a busy brain and I like to keep myself busy. And having 3 kids keeps you busy in general, but having my type of personality on top of that, I think it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a lot going on.
So what are we doing here today?
So we're here today to kind of recap what's been going on with us. In this episode, we're going to talk about a fitness sort of challenge that we completed. I don't know.
I say completed. Scoot over a little.
So we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about your vasectomy. We're going to talk about heart disease, which is like, what? Why are we talking about heart disease here? But it'll make sense. And yeah, just what we've been up to.
Okay.
So both of us have been off social media for at least 75 days.
Yeah, I started a little early, like maybe 3 days before you.
Yeah, so we had a plan and we were going to do this challenge called 75 Hard. And we kind of made up our own, guidelines, parameters, just because it needed to fit into our life, like still be challenging, but make sense. For example, one of the parameters originally is no alcohol for 75 days, but we don't drink. So that one, we just changed this to something else.
It's like easy. Got it.
So what we did was, I thought what I could replace that with is no social media. That's something that's hard to do.
You said no alcohol, not no drugs.
Exactly, because it's literally an addiction. And that's the one part of the challenge that I think we did 100% to a T.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I did. What?
She gives me shit because I deactivated Instagram, deactivated Facebook, deleted Twitter, but I kept Reddit. And I don't view Reddit as social media. I guess there's an argument to be made, but I don't know.
No. So at first we said it's not like traditional social media, but a big part of the challenge was to spend less time on our phones. So I said, maybe delete the app, but you can use Reddit like on your computer, on your device. Like when you sit down at your computer, if you want to check Reddit, that's fine. That wouldn't be counted as cheating the challenge. But having it on your phone is like defeating the purpose.
Yeah.
And the reason I feel like it was cheating was because although I had no social media, the habit of just checking my phone was still there. And I was on like my photos app. I went through a couple of weeks where I was like deleting as much as I could or favoriting photos and finding just any excuse to be on my phone. It was like an itch that I couldn't scratch. So I know that having something like Reddit just that's where you would go.
Okay.
So, it was kind of...
So I failed social media. Technically, I failed social media.
You didn't fail social media. I think you just didn't get as much out of it as you could have.
I felt present as hell. As fuck.
Yes, definitely more than having social media.
Like having
but there were
traditional Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I felt very present.
Yeah.
I do see your point. So I didn't take it all the way. I did 75 soft.
Yeah, well, in general, we didn't do 75 hard correctly anyway. But we'll get there.
Okay.
I think something important that we should talk about is Munchie's passing.
Yeah, so the reason why I got off social media early was my stepmother passed away.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's wife. So, I remember she's been battling cancer for over,
I think 12 years.
12 years?
I think.
12 years plus. Most times you wouldn't have even known that she was dealing with that. And, these past 2 to 3 years has been very tough on her, and, surgery after surgery and just being in a lot of pain. Unfortunately, it just didn't go well in the end. The positive side of that is that she's no longer in pain. So I like to look at the bright side of that.
Mm-hmm.
The downside of that is that, we're still here and we're dealing with that pain of not having her anymore. I feel for my dad. I feel for my sister. I feel for my brothers. It was it's still tough. It still doesn't even feel real. I don't even know how long it's been. I've always had a pretty, like in terms of communication, like I talk with my dad like multiple times a week. And now it just feels more like necessary, if that makes sense. Like I got to make sure my dad's good, because I couldn't even imagine, losing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think although she was battling cancer for so many years, she was good for a lot of those years, healthy. She rode a bike. She went to the gym. She was very active. And I guess in our minds, we just thought she'd bounce back, you know?
I always thought this was just going to be like, this shitty time. Remember when Munchie had cancer?
Mm-hmm. I remember when she was going through that pain. And...
Yeah. And I've said this on this podcast before. I'm pretty sure, like, I always joke that, my dad is in better shape than me and my brother combined.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably never used to add her to that equation, but the truth, she
used to keep up with him.
Yeah, if not push him.
Yeah.
So with her passing, and then with us already discussing doing this challenge, I was just like, I'm going to get a head start in terms of like getting off social media. I just don't want to.
Yeah, you were grieving.
Yeah, I didn't want to deal with like, it's like seeing people kind of, because life goes on, right? People are living their lives. And then you're reminded of that even more because you see Instagram posts, Instagram stories of people just going to work, working out, going to the bar. And you're like, but I'm dealing with the loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got off early.
I feel like in that time too, so I always followed her through the fitness app on the Apple Watch, and seeing her complete workouts was always motivating. And it was nice to learn that it would motivate her when she saw my rings closing and stuff. She'd be like, Stephanie closed her rings.
Yeah.
And then come to find out that in general, she was always just this competitive person, but like in a good, healthy way with everyone. And it was just like nice to learn more about her through her friends and family.
Yeah, she had a beautiful wake and funeral.
Yeah. And I think she's a big part of why we were so successful during this challenge, because it's kind of like, what will Munchie do?
Yep. Used to say that multiple times, like on the days where it was just...
we didn't want to.
Yeah. We'll get into the challenge, but she was definitely a driving force.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also say, she is also a reminder of what a positive step parent can be. I don't know. I never felt like her stepson.
Yeah.
I always... There was this like, I don't know, almost, it just felt like overnight where as a kid, you're like, oh, you're looking for someone to blame why your parents aren't together.
Mm-hmm.
And then quickly you realize that like, that's not the case. And this person's just loving on you as if they're your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like her son. I'm her son. I think during her wake, I said something like, she taught me what a good step parent can be. And that's something even though I view Eli as my son, there's no stepfather, stepson thing there. It's just a reminder that, blood doesn't really matter. It's the bond that you have. So I'm grateful, that she passed that on to me.
Yeah. The last thing I want to mention is that maybe a couple of weeks before her passing, we were on the phone and she was telling me that she prays for us. And she's always told us that. She's always said that she prays for us. But this specific time, she told me, I don't just say my family. I say Stephanie and Travis and River and Eli and Santi. She says she prays for us by name. And for whatever reason, after that call, I got emotional by it. Like, it felt so valuable, so important. It made me feel so cared for, right? And it's like, I ain't gonna waste these prayers. You know how people say, like, you can't pray and then not put action into it? It made me feel like I'm gonna work hard and do the best that I can because someone is taking the time to pray for me. Yeah. Even if, I'm not religious and I don't necessarily have a relationship with God in the way that she did, it still just meant a lot. Like, it just made me so emotional, and I don't know what it was about that. But if you are praying, people, using the person's name could be very meaningful.
Yeah.
As it was for me.
And even the fact that we're not religious, I don't know, I view us as more spiritual. I feel like she moved us with her religion. Like, it was very powerful.
Because it was always positive. It was never judgmental. I feel like a lot of us who maybe have a sour taste in our mouth about religion has to do with like either hypocrisy we might have noticed growing up, or for some reason it didn't resonate with us. I feel like her way of having a connection with God was never excluding. And she always was super positive.
Yeah.
Super, super positive. But yeah. You ready to move on?
Yes.
All right. So heart disease. Why are we talking about heart disease? I happened to watch something and they were giving me statistics of heart disease, and more people die from heart disease every year than the amount of people that died from COVID during the height of it. And if we could think back to when cities were just shut down, airports shut down, these are things that we never would have imagined happen, right? Like the world sort of like stopping because of this virus that's killing people, right? We hear the ambulance outside, and it's just this time that you can't even fathom. You think like this type of death rate is not normal. It's something we never thought we would have saw in our lives and hopefully never see again.
Yeah.
But then you learn that heart disease actually kills more people every year, all the time. And it's like, why is no one talking about it? Is that considered a pandemic in its own way? And maybe pandemic, epidemic is a different type of terminology in terms of the way things are spread. But why are we not concerned with the number of people that die from heart disease, right? And the reason this relates to us and what we've been doing in our fitness journey is because the risk factors for heart disease are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and smoking. But what else? The other things that increase your likelihood of having heart disease are diabetes, being overweight, unhealthy diet, physical inactivity, and excess use of alcohol. So when I think of heart disease, it sounds like a lot of it has to do with your lifestyle and the choices that you make. But why is no one talking about it? Why does no one tell you, like, these things can cause heart disease?
My theory is that it's profitable to not talk about it because, look what's pushed on us, in terms of fast food, the junk, the grocery stores. it's more expensive to buy like the lean, clean things.
Mm-hmm.
So, why would we push that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when the smoking companies having the risk of smoking on the box.
Mm-hmm.
It's just small lettering.
Yeah. It just worries me that something so simple, like the way we eat, like you would think it's something that they can just easily tell you. Like it can cause heart disease, and heart disease isn't something that's so rare, right? Like it kills more people than cancers and all these other things. And it's just like, what's going on? I have the numbers here from 2021. I picked this year because that's kind of like a
Around
full
COVID.
year with COVID. 695,000 people died from heart disease in 2021, and 460,000 died from COVID. So over 200,000 more people died from heart disease than COVID, but we were all so afraid of COVID. But we don't really think twice about
eating like shit,
not working out, drinking alcohol like crazy.
Yeah.
So it just, that kind of like triggered something in me. Like, if the world doesn't give a shit, like I have to give a shit for my kids.
Yeah.
I think being a parent is kind of a big motivation for me. I might have said this before, like I never feared death until I became a parent, because it's like I don't want to leave my kids here without me, which is sad. But the way society is, there isn't that like village, like you're afraid, like if something happened to me, like what's gonna happen to my kids,
Yeah.
So that's been one of my big motivators, and hopefully it motivates someone else.
Yeah, I never viewed heart disease as a motivator, but I mean, shit, it is now, because you're young, you feel invincible.
Mm-hmm.
I just think about my kids in terms of like, I want to be mobile. That was like that was my thought process. But I think it's, on the a side effect of that, on the positive, is that if it makes my heart healthier, then I'll take it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the challenge.
Let's do it. The challenge that we failed.
So there's this challenge that's been on TikTok and Instagram. This guy, apparently he's like super conservative, or not, kind of like a bro podcast kind of dude. He did this challenge called 75 Hard. And for 75 days straight, you can't drink alcohol. You have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book or self-help book. You have to do a 45-minute exercise outside and another 45-minute exercise inside. Drink a gallon of water every day and take a picture of yourself every day. I think that's all. Right?
Yes.
So we modified it, right? Instead of a gallon of water, I knew I would do 80 ounces.
Why don't you go down your list and then I'll do mine?
Yeah, so I did, instead of a gallon of water, I did 80 ounces. Instead of no alcohol, I did no social media, no coffee. I think that was it. That was the only thing I initially was modifying.
Okay, so you did everything. So say what you did, like along with his and the ones you modified. Just go down the list.
I don't know what you mean.
So like no social media, no coffee, no 10 pages.
I just said it.
Okay, so mine was no social media, except y'all know about the Reddit debacle. No soda or seltzer. Seltzer is a gateway for me. 10 pages of a self-help. 100 ounces of water. Progress pick a day.
The one we missed is that you're supposed to follow a diet.
Okay. And then 1 45-minute workout a day. I did one because I leave the house every day.
For like 12 hours
12 hours plus. I'm walking. So one thing I did start to do at work, we have like internal stairs, and fortunately, I'm using those stairs a lot. But there are times prior to this challenge where I'm just like, I'm taking the elevator. But what I did during the whole challenge was push myself to take the internal stairs. So there's about 4 to 5 flights of stairs. And some days I had to go all the way to the top. I'm like, I'm taking the stairs. So that I added that into the challenge. Yeah.
And I guess most of it wasn't like, I want to be in the best shape of my life at the end of 75 days. It was more so, can I be disciplined enough to follow it, right? And apparently the creator of this challenge is very strict about it. Like, you miss one thing, you have to start over.
Can we take a step back?
Yeah.
Steph originally told me she was doing this challenge. There was no conversation about me joining her. I just had a light bulb moment where I'm like, how the hell am I going to look eating Popeyes and my wife is over here on a challenge where she's trying to eat cleaner and work out, and I'm just like, all right, babe, see you in bed. I feel like that would have been a recipe for disaster in terms of us as a partnership. And maybe the 75 days would have come and gone, and I think it would have eventually have had a negative effect. Especially if after the challenge is over, the goal is that you keep some of those habits, right? It would have drifted us apart, I think.
I agree. I feel like there's been plenty of times where I get into my fitness kicks for a short amount of time and I never keep it up. And it's not your fault. Obviously, I'm responsible for myself and my own choices. But if the person you're with every single day is kind of not on that same path, it makes it a little bit harder to stick to it. So actually, can you read that review from Amazon? So we were looking to buy like a set of dumbbells or something, but this review was just so hilarious and so relatable that I'm like, we need to read it on the podcast.
All right. Every April, I like to convince myself that this is going to be my year. I'm going to emerge from the dark, cold house after being cooped up inside all those winter months, rocking a beach bod, 6-pack even. This summer sun won't know what hit it. This year, I decided instead of paying for a gym membership, I was going to build my own gym. My husband has been on this rodeo with me going on 20 years, so he knows the drill. So he asked that I buy cost-effective equipment. I assured him that this would be different. I'm really doing it this time, but I will keep the costs low. After doing tons of research, I settled on this set. Good reviews, great price. And I didn't want to just get 5-pound weights because I was going to be a gym rat. I knew I'd have to gradually move up weights, so I wanted a range of weights to grow as my sweet muscles grew. This checked all the boxes. And let me tell you, they are perfect, exactly as described. Tree is easy to assemble, weight is spot on. And for the 3 weeks, I hit these bad boys hard until I decided I was gonna stick to tacos and TikTok. I mean, I look the same as I did last year, so what's the big deal if anyone sees my not-so-beach bod soaking up the summer race for another year? But dang, do they look good in the basement, along with the $600 of other equipment I bought. And the beauty of it all is it'll be ready for me again next April. Quality product, built to last every workout kick I get on for years to come.
Absolutely relatable. And I feel like that's me. Almost every year, like since college, I'm like, I'm going to use the free gym in college. When I leave college, I won't have a free gym again. Let me take advantage of it. I pay my tuition here. Yeah, right. I do a couple classes. I do a couple sessions at the gym. Stop. Since we've been married, how many health kicks I don't get to, and then I stop. And what's crazy about April is like, it's like 90 days before summer-ish. Yeah. So you feel like if I go hard from now to summer, I'm going to be fly, and then it never happens. So that was so relatable. But it also gave me the motivation like, wow, I don't want to be like this. It was kind of like having a mirror held up to me. Like, yeah, right, Steph. You always say this. You're never going to stick to it.
Yeah, I don't know. My relationship with fitness has been a weird one just because, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I've always had like a slimmer physique no matter what I eat, right? But it could be a double-edged sword because on one hand, you look quote unquote healthy.
But you're not. You're weak.
Weak and just filling my body with
stamina.
Well, I mean, listen.
That's not what I meant. I meant like if you had to run.
Okay.
You're like, what is not stamina? What's the endurance?
Endurance.
Even though that's kind of bad too.
Because my stamina, and no matter how much Popeyes I had.
Yeah.
Can you vouch? Damn.
Yes, baby. Yes. I'm dead.
Damn, lost my train of thought. But So I never felt the urge to like push myself in terms of fitness.
Yeah, you told me you ate like Chipotle for a week straight before.
But listen, don't shit on Chipotle because I know plenty of fitness people who have had successful diets.
But I guess my point is you didn't really care.
I didn't really care. I eat whatever. I used to live on a property that had a private gym. And what's funny is that the gloves I'm using now for weights are the same gloves I had back then, and how long ago is this? Like,
well, we've been married 8 years.
So it has to be like
together
over
like 9.
10 years.
10 years old.
10-year-old gloves that I'm using. They still fit. I always had big hands. So, yeah.
So the intent was there at least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But then you never stuck to it.
And it was just like, it's convenient. I literally walked out my house. It's right there. Convenience is important when it comes to fitness. We'll get into that.
At least as parents.
Yeah. And as lazy people.
Just people in general. We seek convenience. I think we evolved for that.
Yeah.
The less energy you have to use for something, the better.
True.
But yeah, so we failed. We failed because we didn't do everything that we said we would to a T. But in a way, we succeeded. Because although we didn't do it to a T, we never quit and we kept going. And we did a lot more in the past 75 days than we did maybe in the past.
In my life.
In your whole life, right? I agree. Maybe this is the most I've ever done.
Yeah, I can say that with confidence.
So I'm going to go down my list. So I did the full 75 days of no social media. I read 359 pages of books of reading. I rode 87.4 miles. I did 34 strength workouts, 50 yoga stretching / flexibility workouts, and I walked 17 miles. What's yours, babe?
So days off social media, 75 plus. I think it's around 78 or 79. Pages of a book I read. I read one book. Huge deal for me. And I was like actually into the book. Steph was annoyed that I was into the book because she's been dying for me to like read this specific book because
I wasn't annoyed, but it was more so every time he was like, oh, yo, babe, and he wanted to like share his enthusiasm, I'm like, duh, you see, I told you.
And I remember when she was reading this book and she would have those type of moments and try to like read me pages, and I'm just like, yeah. And I was into it, but not as much as when I did my read through.
I guess having all the context makes it even more intriguing. So the book was Atomic Habits.
Yeah, and you've definitely talked about it on the pod before. And I put like 3 people on at work. I'm a book reader. So that book is 320 pages. So yeah. Peloton and bike rides. I did 345 miles.
Yes, you didn't talk about your cycling journey.
Yeah, so I got the cycling bug. I'm a cyclist now.
You are. Let me not laugh. You are a cyclist.
So bought a hybrid bike about 2 years ago. And rode it a bit, did a few rides in the area. And then at one point, Steph was like, you need a helmet. And I kind of didn't get one. And I was just like, I'm not going to fight with her that I can ride without a helmet. But on top of that, I wasn't doing the research. Your boy got a big dome.
Listen, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I cannot afford for Travis to crack his head open, all right?
Eventually, I got a helmet that fits, and I started riding, and it was just like the best feeling ever. And it coincided with
the 75-day
challenge, and it was just like, all right, if I'm not doing strength workouts, then I'll get on the bike. If the weather's shitty, I'll do a Peloton ride. If it's not, I'll go for a ride outside. And it was just something amazing about it. Like I would listen to podcasts, music, push myself to like beat local times, and then also, I think I decided pretty early on that I was going to do the New York City 5-borough challenge. So I was training for that. I'll get back to that. I just want to keep reading these stats. Strength workouts, I've done over 40. Yoga and stretches, 41. It could be more or less.
Yeah.
And walked. I didn't write. I literally walk at least.
You walk a lot because you walk from the bus to your job and all the walking you do in your building up the stairs.
Yeah. So I've always been a walker. Last one was ran. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So one of my goals I wanted to do was running. And I literally did like 3 runs only. And then I kept finding every excuse in the book. So I initially wanted to do the 1 indoor workout and 1 outdoor, but there's just not enough time in the world.
So back to the 5 borough. I did it with my dad, my brother, and 2 coworkers. Shout out to Derwin and Derek. My dad has done it a bunch.
What is the 5 borough?
So it's I guess it's not a race. It's like a tour of New York City. You touch every borough and touch because the Bronx was like...
They cheated the Bronx,
They cheated the Bronx. I think you go through the South Bronx, but like the very tip of it, and then you're back in like Harlem or something. So, but yeah, it's the New York City 5 borough. It's about, I think, 40 miles. It was amazing. I loved it. It's like you get to see the city through a different lens while you're on a bike, like you're riding.
And traffic is like stopped for y'all.
Yep.
That was dope.
Closed highways, you riding over bridges. It ends in Staten Island, so I rode over the Verrazano. It was just amazing. One thing that happened that probably changed my whole outlook on cycling is that I have like a hybrid bike. It's like a fitness travel type thing. And my brother and father have road bikes. If you know anything about bikes, it's like a road bike on that type of tour. They basically dusted me the whole way. And mind you, I expected that with my father, but not my brother.
And Travis is very competitive, if y'all didn't know.
And not to say that my brother isn't in shape. It was just like...
He wasn't training for a bike.
Like you hear the stories like, oh, I've been riding every day. He just like got up that day and was like, I'll do the 5 borough. And was keeping up with my dad. So that pushed me to, do some research on road bikes. So thanks to
AKA it gave him an excuse to buy an expensive bike.
Thanks to my friend, Tony, another Tony. He works for Specialized. He gave me a lot of information on road bikes, and your boy has a road bike now. So if you see anyone in Jersey riding around in a tight fit on a white bike, it's me.
Oh, gosh. All right. So we back on the gram and we posted, just how is everyone doing? And we got a submission for a question that I think you and I should discuss. So this is kind of like a very short, so y'all can relate. My boyfriend doesn't want kids. I'm undecided, but we don't want to break up. Help, please. What do you think?
One more time.
My boyfriend doesn't want kids. I'm undecided, but we don't want to break up. Help, please.
I would say you really need to figure out what you want, because ultimately, if he's steadfast in how he feels about not having kids, you have to make the decision, and make the decision not with like losing him in mind, but more so like your life fulfillment. Like, are you going to feel fulfilled in life without having kids? And if the answer is no, then you need to...
I also wonder, like, if her boyfriend wanted kids, if she would also then know she wants kids. Like, is she only undecided because of that part of her that wants to stay with someone who definitely doesn't want kids?
It's kind of like when you see like a shirt you like and you're like, damn, I love the way this looks. And then someone else says, oh, that shirt's so ugly. And you're like, yeah, man, yeah, it's ugly. I don't know who would...
Yeah. Kids is a big deal. It's a big make or break for relationships. If you guys love each other and want to be together and want to make it work until that decision has to be made, I'm also not against that, but understanding the risk involved with that, right? How many years are you going to spend in a situation where that eventually when it comes time to kids, you're going to part ways?
Yeah, but don't you view that as a waste of time?
No, because everything happens in its season for a reason. If they're happy in every other sense, and maybe, I don't know how old they are, maybe if they're young, he could have a change of heart, she could have a change of heart. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's a definite breakup in this moment. And I also want her to decide in what makes her undecided. Is it because he doesn't want kids, or is it something genuinely within her that's like, you know what, I'm unsure?
Yeah. It's not uncommon. I feel like more and more people are feeling empowered to like say that. Like that's their truth. They don't want kids.
They don't want kids, yeah.
Married people even. What was that? We saw that funny gender reveal the other day.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, what was it?
It was like, my house was too clean. My bank account had way too much money. So we decided to mess it all up.
And it's true. It's
We're
hard.
We're having a baby.
It's hard as hell. Like, so, although I feel, I just said a couple minutes ago how fulfilled I feel with 3 kids. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of giving up some of your life to raise other humans. So it's important to decide whether or not that's something you truly want. And if it is, I just think you all need to part. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. But I think in the long run, it'll work out.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to talk about, I'm not going to even say it out loud, just look at the screen. Do you want to talk about this, or are we going to jump into the vasectomy? It's one of those things that we're kind of actively working through. So, if you listen to the show, we talk about trying not to bring up stuff that's still a little bit fresh.
Yeah.
But Travis kind of wanted to talk about it, and I was going to kind of let him have it and not really put too much input. Let this be your moment to reflect if you want.
I think I need some more time to just put things into practice.
Okay.
I don't want to say it, or I don't want to talk about it right now just because I feel like I'm still doing the work, and I don't want to, I want to have like more positivity to come out my mouth. And
I feel like now you got to give a tease. You gave so much. You got to give a topic at least. Sheesh.
So on another episode,
we're
going to go into my potential. It's not potential. My selfishness as a individual, as a partner, as a father.
Damn, you see, now I feel like I got to defend you. Because I feel like the word selfish is so heavy and people see it like in one way.
You know what? We're here.
Okay.
We're here. I feel like this is like blue balls.
Okay.
You take it off.
So I just want to let you talk about this, but I think like if you call someone selfish, it hurts, right? Because this is a loaded term. And we think of selfish people in relationships as like being kind of like abusers and manipulators, or like, it's like this blatant selfishness. And I think that's not what we're talking about. So what do you think the selfishness looks like in terms of what you're working on?
Just like putting you all before the needs of myself. Even talking about this 75 hard challenge, I've been like on it, probably even more so than you at points. And although it's, admirable, inspiring and all that, I know at certain points you were kind of looking at me from like where's this energy for me? Where's this energy for our children? And it sounds crazy like to say out loud, because it almost sounds like I'm just like, fuck y'all, when that's not the case.
It's not. Just, that's why it's like hard. That's why maybe this conversation is still too fresh, but
it's hard to explain. But it's just, there's certain things you do as a partner, certain things you do as a father. It's like taking that extra mile without having to be told. When you think about like relationships, for example, it's like there are so many things that your partner needs that sometimes they don't want to have to explain to you, right? Like I'll say something small, for example, like foot rubs, right? It's just at this point in our marriage, I know that it's important to you, feels good, physical touch, relaxes you. But if you have to keep reminding me to do it, it kind of takes away from it. And then with children, it's like, it's more than just keeping them alive, making sure they have clean clothes and food in their stomach. It's like, that extra time, that extra care, whether it's educational, recreational, and every one of our kids have their own needs in their own special way. So it's taking the extra mile. There's no working or being out the house 12 plus hours a day isn't an excuse. They didn't decide to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I made the conscious decision to get with you and create them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just learning to get out of that, like not just only going 1,000% for myself, but also having that same effort for you all.
Yeah. So, Travis just sit here and talked about having the cycling bug, right? And there's been numerous times where I just catch him watching YouTube videos about cyclists, like learning, getting extra information, researching, needing a new bike, a better bike, like that drive to just do better, be better. And it's inspiring, it's hot, it's sexy. Like, I appreciate that. But then on the flip side, I want to see that amount of care, enthusiasm into things that relate to something outside of just you, that relate to the family. Like, I want you to one day see River and then say, you know what? I should probably find out a way that he can do this more effectively. And then you're researching that. Like, I see you on YouTube looking up things that aren't about you. Because as a mom, I feel like I have to think about everyone constantly, and having a partner who, who does that as well, it'll take a little bit off of my plate, which in turn makes me feel less of like a failure when things aren't going right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
I feel like, maybe I overdo it and then I put too much on myself. And then that's probably why I feel like I'm always failing, but it's because I set too many goals. But maybe I would set less goals if I knew I had someone else who was,
shared responsibility.
Exactly.
Or shared mental load in terms of like your brain is always on us, the kids, and how to improve their quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
So, as your partner, I should take that on as well.
Yeah. So that's where we talked about, like, it's selfish in a way. And, it's also unintentionally selfish, right? You're not like, fuck them kids, fuck y'all. You just,
fuck them kids was a joke.
You just, I don't know how to even explain it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've had this similar conversation on here about how, like, with the podcast, you've just been on it. Like, you have this joy and you learn and you figure out ways to make it better and improve. And I'm like, where is that energy with other things?
Yeah.
I'm happy that it's now into your self-care in a way, because we all benefit from that, right? You being healthy and strong is going to benefit us all for years to come. But just finding other pockets of our life to kind of apply that to.
Yeah.
How was that?
Raw.
You scared? Did anything come out a little bit
No, I mean, I think it's the hard truth. I think maybe there's some fathers, even mothers out there that could relate. Like, we know we love our children, and sometimes we have to push ourselves to go that extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe talking about it will bring some self-awareness to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, I'm a work in progress where, like,
and I feel like that's all relationships, right? Not just parent to children, but partners. Like, just sometimes doing what's best for the people we love doesn't come as like second nature. It isn't gonna just happen. You have to be intentional and sometimes do what you don't want to do what's hard or uncomfortable to just show up as best you can for them.
Yeah.
Without losing yourself. Because I feel like in the beginning of this conversation, you said putting everyone else in front of me. But I don't think that's really the goal or the point.
I think better balancing the two.
Yeah.
Because you all are a part of my life.
Yeah.
And probably the most important part of my life. So I guess I just want to show up in that way.
Okay. That makes sense.
On to lighter news.
I feel like it's important for you to share your experience with your vasectomy, just because our expectations were one way, then what really happened was different. So maybe your experience could kind of just give other people out there who are considering it, a better idea of what will happen.
Yes. So if you haven't seen it, go on our social media, TikTok, Instagram. There's a little highlight reel of the day I got my vasectomy. Mm-hmm. Leading up to it, or even when we had conversations about getting a vasectomy, I don't know. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. I didn't know the day was going to come where I was actually going to do it. Yeah. Not that I was just bullshitting, but it was just like, okay.
Life comes at you fast.
Life comes at you fast. I was on my paternity leave and it was wrapping up. And we're like, we got to do this. Mm-hmm. Because just in terms of going back to work and then not wanting to take time as soon as you come back from paternity leave. So got in there. I think it was the last week of my paternity leave.
And what were you expecting based on what everyone was telling us?
I was expecting I go in and it would have an uncomfortable weekend, but by that Monday when I go back to work, I'd be back to normal.
Yeah, we saw someone even say, people come in on a Thursday or Friday and they're back to work
and I went
Monday.
On Thursday, right? Mm-hmm. So for one, I didn't know I was going under. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure where the miscommunication happened.
I saw someone even on TikTok. They weren't put to sleep fully. It was just local.
My brother, my father, it was local. Mm-hmm. So everyone I in my circle that I knew got a vasectomy, it was just local anesthetic. Mm-hmm. So I'm expecting that, I'm going to get numbed and they're going to go to town. Come to find out, I guess it's more common nowadays to go under anesthetics.
So I guess ask that so that way you know what to expect.
Exactly. Shave your balls. Shave it so they don't have to shave it for you. Luckily, I did a good job. I think I did a good job because how would I know if they had to shave me a little more?
I don't fucking know, baby.
Because I've heard stories of they went for the local one and they had to shave them a little more. Yeah. I guess they didn't do a good job. I think I did a good job.
Yeah, you were knocked out, so you don't know.
So shave your balls.
And what to expect? You said 2 to 3 days. Is that
accurate?
Fair to say?
No. I didn't feel normal again for about 2 weeks. Immediately you just feel like this like your balls feel heavier than usual.
Like you're more aware of their existence.
Aware of, it's like this thing that's been with you your whole life. You're like, wow, you're really there, and you feel like delicate as fuck right now.
I feel like that's what it would be if I just woke up with balls one day. Because then it's like, what is this thing in between my legs?
Wait, you don't have balls already?
You never think about having a vagina for a day?
No.
Well, I think about having a penis for a day a lot.
Maybe being a woman for a day, but not having a vagina for a day.
Well, that comes with it. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I wrote notes to stay on track.
So what was uncomfortable about those 2 weeks?
So, yeah. One, they use a, what's it called? Like a glue to seal it. Mm-hmm. Like some type of glue to seal it. So
instead of stitches, you got glue.
Because they want it to dissolve. So you have the stickiness plus that uncomfortable feeling. So the stickiness, even once you can take your first shower, it's still going to be there for a little bit. So you have like your ball sticking to your thighs. Just, if this is too much detail, fast forward, but I feel like it's important to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once I think you can do your first ejaculation, I believe it was 72 hours.
No.
It wasn't? Or a week?
I think it was a week.
It was a week. You're right. I didn't do it in 72 hours. I didn't even do it in a week. Yeah. I had no desire to be doing that.
Yeah.
I can't remember when I did it. It might have been like a week and a half.
Mm-hmm. Were you scared?
Were we together or did I do it by myself?
No, we were together.
We were together. We were intimate. I was scared. I will say the feeling is like I had like this tingly feeling in the head.
Of your penis.
Of my penis. It was not a bad feeling, but just like weird.
It was different.
Different. not something I wanted to stick around. I used like Reddit a lot to do vasectomy research. There's a whole vasectomy subreddit, and I remember one guy said like that feeling, you know, although it was actually an amazing feeling, and it shortly went away. I was sad.
You weren't sad.
I wasn't sad when it went away.
But it does go away.
It does eventually go away, but after you get a few pumps out. What else? Yeah, so do I recommend it?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
1,000%. Okay. Especially if you do not want children, or if you have children and you said we're good at this number, or like that last couple, that guy said I don't want children. Go get a vasectomy. Yeah. Don't have any accident babies, and then you're having tough conversations.
Yeah.
I just think it's like it was the least I can do in our situation, just considering that you gave me 3 babies.
Yeah.
And you pushed them out like a champ. And in terms of like intrusiveness, it's like a very minor surgery compared to like getting your tubes tied.
I will say, even though it's you, I keep asking, like, how do you feel? Like, I even have this weird, like, internal, like, I don't know what it is, just knowing, like, you can't make babies anymore.
Yeah. So, was it 2 days ago? So last week I had to go give a sample of my jizz to
semen, baby.
Semen. To get it tested to see if there's any swimmers left, and dropped it off. And masturbating into a cup is weird. But yeah, got the results back in like 2 days. We were at dinner. And I was like, should I just wait for my doctor's appointment? She's like, no, read it now.
Right now.
So opened it, and it said zero sperm, or
no sperm detected.
No,
it was
sperm absent was the term. So I have no sperm left, and it's weird.
Yeah, like made it real in that moment.
It's weird. Like on one hand, you're like, oh hell yeah, you know, we never have to worry about a slip up, or you know, when she says put a baby in me, it's like I can't.
It's just sex talk. It's not real.
I can't. But there's this weird feeling of like I can't make any more children, and you can.
Yeah.
Technically.
Well, I can't make them by myself.
I know, but you know, that's a whole nother thing. It's just weird.
Yeah. And I feel like it's one of the reasons I didn't want to get my tubes tied, because it's that weird, like, I don't know, I guess making your body suddenly not do something it's naturally supposed to do is gonna feel weird. But, you know, I had 3 kids. I've been on birth control. So I've made sacrifices with my body. You know, I even had freaking diabetes in my last pregnancy. So it's just like I did enough sacrificing and changing my body that I just felt like it was fair for you to be the one to take that step.
And I also want to take a step back and say, like, I know there are people who like really struggle with having kids, right?
Yeah.
And are unable to have children, men and women.
Yeah.
So I get to speak from a different standpoint, where it's like I have 3 children, 2 who are biologically mine already. So I know what it's like to go through that experience. I know what it's like to go from A to Z on that, and some people don't, right?
Yeah.
So although I'm saying it's weird, or I don't know how to feel about not being able to make children anymore, I have to also have some, you know, be grateful for the fact that I was able to. And
you made the choice to do it. You
exactly.
know?
So you know, I'm very aware of that. But to wrap it up, highly recommend for any man, any relationship, any couples that don't want any more children, go get a vasectomy.
Everything still works really well.
It's still, I was concerned about that. I was concerned about 2 things. One, is it going to work as well? And second thing, Steph was more concerned about.
What?
The amount that comes out.
Oh, yeah.
The amount that comes out.
Yeah.
It's
still, all normal.
It's still normal.
I wouldn't even be able to tell the difference.
Didn't you say it tastes a little? I'm joking.
No. Oh, speaking of though, we have noticed a difference, I think, related to the working out and the eating better.
Yeah. Just strong like rock.
Yeah. And apparently it has to do with working out.
The blood flow.
Increased blood flow, increased oxygen. It's having an impact on our sex life, which is great.
Yeah.
So if heart disease wasn't a motivator, maybe that'll be a motivator for some people.
Yeah, if it's not staying as strong as you want for long periods of time, I would.
And I didn't have complaints before, but I could just, there's a noticeable difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed it as well.
Mm-hmm. Anywho, I think we're all done.
Yeah, that was fun. Are we doing these more often?
No. You see, Travis always want to put me on the spot in front of the camera. We had an argument about that last time. This is here. We don't know when the next one will be.
We'll be back when we'll be back. I am happy that we put it on camera.
Okay.
Because if you guys don't know, you're watching on YouTube, there is an audio-only podcast that we did before. Go take a listen to that. I think it was it before Santi was born?
It was after. Right after.
Right after. So, yeah, you'll see us a lot more on social media. You know, communicate with us, send us a message, and we'll be back when we're back. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope next time the updates on my selfishness are.
I hope we can have a more in-depth conversation about what's going on.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Oh, wait.
What?
Baby.
Daddy.
Do you still like me?
I do. I forgot what I used to say.
I think that was it. Peace out.
Bye.